The old oil factory was located in the heart of the Midwest, surrounded by vast fields of crops and small communities that relied on the factory for jobs and income. Despite the controversy surrounding the factory's use of fracking, it had become a vital part of the local economy, providing employment opportunities for decades. But when the oil price crash of 2020 hit, the factory was among the casualties, and it was forced to close its doors, leaving the small town struggling to cope with the sudden loss of jobs and revenue. The once bustling streets of the town were now eerily quiet, and many businesses were forced to shut down as a result of the economic downturn. For years, the factory stood abandoned, a painful reminder of the town's economic struggles. Years passed, and the factory became a ghostly presence in the town, a haunting reminder of its economic struggles. Yet, following a surge in oil prices recently, a new energy company acquired the factory with the intention of revitalizing it. They invested heavily in the factory, bringing in modern equipment and technology to streamline operations and reduce costs. The new company also made a commitment to hiring local workers, which was welcomed by the town's residents. Many people were excited about the prospect of having jobs again and contributing to the revitalization of the town's economy. As the factory began to come back to life, it also brought new opportunities for the town's businesses. Local restaurants and shops saw an increase in customers, and new businesses began to open up in anticipation of the increased economic activity. Despite the optimism surrounding the factory's reopening, not everyone was on board with the plan. Some residents voiced concerns about the potential environmental impact of fracking. However, what truly set nerves on edge were the rumors of the factory's haunting. Whispers circulated through the town that the factory was haunted by the ghosts of workers who had taken their own lives during the economic downturn. Some claimed to have heard strange noises emanating from the factory, while others swore they had seen ghostly apparitions flitting about its dark corners, their faces twisted in anguish. As the rumors persisted, a sense of unease settled over the town, and the divide between those who supported the factory's revival and those who opposed it deepened. Despite the rumors of the factory's haunted past, the economic benefits of its revival proved too great to ignore. As the factory's operations ramped up, the town began to see a resurgence of economic activity, and talk of its supposed ghostly inhabitants faded into the background. However, that all changed with the sudden disappearance of Barry. One night, Barry was called in to work the night shift. Assigned to operate the floor crane, which was used to move heavy barrels of oil around the factory floor. Barry was alone in the towering machine. Suddenly, a terrifying scream echoed from the top of the crane where Barry was. Then, the crane began to spin out of control, causing extensive damage. Despite attempts to contact Barry via phone, there was no answer. Eventually, the motor of the crane burned out, and the spinning finally stopped. To everyone's surprise, Barry was nowhere to be found inside the crane. The incident reignited talk of the factory's supposed haunting, and rumors swirled anew about the ghosts of former workers exacting revenge on those who dared to enter their domain. As fear and suspicion spread through the town, tensions between those who supported the factory and those who opposed it boiled over again. But the energy company had invested a significant amount of money, and the accident had caused them to lose a lot. Despite this setback, they were determined to keep the factory running. To avoid further damage to their reputation and quell the rumors, they issued a false statement claiming that Barry had a history of mental illness and intended to flee. The company also threatened legal action against employees who failed to report for work, causing fear among the townspeople. Although no one believed the company's statement, they complied due to the fear of legal consequences. To alleviate the concerns of the workers in the town, CEO Darren took a bold step. With a lot of media present, he visited the factory one night to investigate the rumors and reassure everyone. He inspected the equipment, walked around the factory floor, and engaged with the workers present. During the walkthrough, he appeared to be smiling and conducting interviews with the media. However, as soon as everyone left, he turned to the factory manager, and his face changed. He became very angry and started yelling, insisting that everything needed to continue as planned. Suddenly, Darren's eyes widened in fear as he saw figures in the distance, moving towards him slowly. They were wearing old overalls from the factory, and one of them had a new uniform, which could only be Barry's. Darren was frozen with fear as the figures got closer and closer. He realized that the figures were the ghosts of the workers who had lost their lives in the factory. They were angry and wanted revenge for what had happened to them. All their mouths started to extend, then becoming pipes, and getting closer and closer to Darren. It seems they were going to suck blood out of him. No one else saw those ghosts. All the workers just saw Darren suddenly yelling and pointing at a distance. "Where are you from? Don't come any closer. What's happening to your mouth? Get that things away from me." They can see Darren starting to choke himself, choking so hard till he was not able to breathe. Many workers were trying to pull his hands and fingers out from his throat, but somehow, Darren is so strong that nothing can move it. The factory manager called 911 right away. But, as ambulance is on its way, Darren already choked himself to death. The next day, news of Darren's sudden and mysterious death after the factory walkthrough made headlines across the nation. The energy company tried to spin the story, saying that Darren had suffered a heart attack, but the workers knew the truth and whispered about the ghosts who haunted the factory. With no one willing to go back to work, the energy company had no choice but to close the factory permanently. The families of all workers received compensation, but they also had to sign agreements not to disclose any news about the incident. To this day, the abandoned oil factory still stands as a reminder of the tragedy that occurred there.